Hey everybody, BigBlackHatMan here, and well, this is it. We've come to the end of the trail. This may be the end, but this is your last chance at redemption, buddy. Relax. I know what you're getting at. Today on the docket, we have another John Wayne film. And you better respect the Duke, or I will find a way! Psycho! I was fair with the previous John Wayne entries, and I'll be fair with this one. Fair? Fair? You better be more than fair! Okay then. I guess there's no beating around the bush. Today on the AFI's Top 10 Western list, we come to number 1. The Searchers on BigBlackHatMan vs. AFI!
From the thrilling pages of life rides a man you must fear and respect. A man whose unconquerable will and boundless determination carved a lusty, rough, and boisterous slice of history called The Searchers. It's John Wayne as Ethan Edwards, who had a rare kind of courage. The courage that simply keeps on, far beyond all reasonable endurance, never thinking of himself as martyred, never thinking of himself as brave.
So we'll find him in the end, I promise you. We'll find him.
Here is a story of a man, hard and relentless, tender and passionate, of people who dared to challenge a hostile land. Here is drama of great love and aching loneliness.
I found him. I found Lucy.
What you saw was a buck wearing Lucy's dress.
So what is The Searchers about? Well, it's about Ethan Edwards, played by John Wayne, who's finally come home from the Civil War, 3 years after it ended. What's he been up to? Well, most likely criminal activity, but they're never quite clear. But regardless, he's come home to Texas, and his brother, and his brother's family, and his sister-in-law, who he's probably in love with. Yeah, they kind of point this out too. But we don't have time for any of that stuff, because immediately Comanches attack. And so Ethan Edwards and his nephew Martin, who's not really his nephew, he's a kid he rescued, he's being raised by his brother. Don't worry about it. The point is they have a relationship. And they go after the Comanches, and the Comanches go behind them and kill Ethan Edwards' brother's family. Yeah, it's not a very cheery start. At any rate, though, one of the kids lives. Yeah, the youngest daughter, she lives, played by Natalie Wood. Well, not in the beginning. It's actually Natalie Wood's little sister. It's Natalie Wood later. Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Natalie Wood shows up at some point in the film. But at any rate, they go to get the girl, and they spend 5 years doing this, or more. They're not really clear about the passage of time. Really, it's about the journey. It's about Ethan Edwards going after his niece for this whole film, and eventually wanting to kill her. Yeah, that's right. He searches for her for 5 years and then wants to kill her. You have to watch the film. You have to watch the film. It's kind of hard to explain in just a short summary. The point is that Ethan Edwards is also a jerk. You might have got that from where he's trying to kill his niece. You know, there's a lot going on in this film. I'm just going to say it's about Ethan Edwards looking for his niece with Martin Pauly, who he calls Blankethead because he's mean. And yeah, that's The Searchers. Just remember all that. So why is this a classic? Well, it's an extremely interesting character piece with a little bit different moral compass. Do we have to do this again like we did in the previous video? It's John Wayne. And John Ford this time. And John Ford. Whatever, it's all about the Duke. Shut up! You know, I'd like to say I'm going to miss this, but I hate to lie. John Wayne! Got it. Okay, in fairness, a lot has to do with John Wayne. Actually, a lot of it has to do with John Wayne's character, Ethan Edwards. Ethan Edwards is a deeply complicated character in this film. He is simultaneously the good guy and the bad guy at times in the film, and that's really hard to explain without you actually seeing the film. This is one my descriptions are going to be difficult on, and I'll get more into that. But Ethan Edwards is a deeply angry, virtually disturbed character, and kind of hates the whole world, and displays that through racism and violence and just anger. But it works, and you get some sense of why he's angry and why he is who he is. That's what makes the movie interesting. And Martin Pauly's his foil, sort of the sounding board for everything that Ethan Edwards is. He's actually more a protagonist, played by Jeffrey Hunter. It's a pretty good character to play off of Ethan Edwards. And of course, this movie's about the journey. This is a journey film. It's not really a plot-driven narrative. It's more about two characters together accomplishing a goal. But what that goal is changes throughout the film and changes between the two characters. They don't always agree on what the goal is, which is also interesting and also plays into the character development. And when we finally do meet the true antagonist of the film, the Native American chief, the Comanche chief who kidnapped the niece, there's odd parallels between him and Ethan Edwards, and it really works out interesting. The fact that they don't even introduce him to the last third of the film is part of the real in-depth portion of this film. It's really hard for me to flesh out this film without a person having watched it, because I don't want to give things away about the film. And there's so much interesting character traits in it. I want you to see it for yourself. I don't want to just tell you. After you've seen it, then we can come back and talk a little bit more. But so the reason this one is a classic are it is a brutal film in a lot of ways in terms of how the characters are described, which is kind of unusual, I think, for John Ford, though he did a film called The Informer in 35, which kind of has a similar sort of feel if you think about it. And so this film caught people off guard, and it does something different, and John Wayne does something different in it. All those things made this a classic. Not commercially successful at the time, but a classic. Well, to be clear on my opinion of this film, I'd like to tell a story. Who cares? Do you like it or not? The story relates to that point. Well, then tell the story. Jeez. When I was a kid, I got sick one day from school. Little BigBlackHatMan, sent home from school sick. And I spent the day with my grandma, and she really liked Westerns, and so she turned on the Western channel and said, hey, we're going to watch a movie. We're going to watch The Searchers. So here I am, little 10-year-old version of me, watching this film, and I became enamored. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I didn't understand a lot of it. In retrospect, I didn't really glom on to a lot of the things that I understand now about the character-driven portions of this film. But at 10 years old, this is one of the films that made me love Westerns, and I gravitated to this film for the rest of my life as a result. Powerful stuff. So you've always been a sickly little sissy. Given that you're just me, I'm starting to think I really need to call that psychiatrist. There's not enough help in the world for you. Probably true. Regardless, I love this film. Man, do I love this film. I still love this film. This is one film I came to as a kid, and as an adult I understood it better. I understood more about it. I got more from it. The character things that I described in the classic portion, I don't know that I really understood those as a kid. I just got there's enough action in this film, there's enough fun things going on, there's enough in that relationship between Martin Pauly, played by Hunter, and Ethan Edwards, played by Wayne, to keep you involved. So yeah, I really, really like this film to this day. It's just a film I can sit down and watch anytime, all 2 hours and like 5 minutes. I can't remember, just a touch over 2 hours. Because there were things that appealed to me as a kid, and there's things that appealed to me as an adult. So, I love this film. No bones about it. So does this film deserve its rank? Well, by my standards, yeah, it does. Hallelujah! Finally! Respect for the Duke! Of course, I could see dissent on that opinion. Wait, what? Well, I really like this film, and for me it's a good choice for number one, but I could see dissent, I could see different opinions. I mean, this film's not perfect and beyond question. I feel like you're about to crush me. Please don't do it. Don't worry. As a parting gift to both of us, I won't do it. What a relief. Okay, do your long-winded thing now. Sure. As far as Western lists go, this is a good choice. I mean, it's a great film by one of the best directors in John Ford, one of the best actors in John Wayne, maybe the best work they ever did together. It's psychological, it's deep, it's got a lot of character. I don't expect it to be everyone's number one. Heck, I don't even think the AFI did. That gets me to thinking about this list in total. This list is I'm going to say not good on the whole, because I would think the AFI has to represent all American films and all American Western films. And though they picked out the classics and put them at the top of the list, as we got farther back on the list, and names like Cat Ballou and McCabe and Mrs. Miller, I don't know if they went with the most popular, they went with the most artistic. There's no criteria for the list, and that's what bothers me to this day. I'm not sure how they got these films on the list. Why did they overlook The Magnificent Seven? There's nothing that tells me anywhere. It's still one of my favorite Westerns, and it's just not on this list. The Searchers is as good a choice as any, honestly, but did they just stumble into it? Anytime I found a film on a list that I liked, I thought, yeah, that really belongs. I couldn't help but think to myself, how did it get there? Did they just fall into it? I mean, they made a choice like Cat Ballou, which has no business on a top 10 Western list, unless you're just really into Western comedies and Jane Fonda, but I think that's a pretty rare list. So, on the whole, I'd say the AFI didn't do the worst job they could have done on this list. But they didn't do a great job either, because I don't think it represents American Western cinema as a whole. I mean, like I said in the very first video, no dedication to the silent era, no dedication to the B era, no dedication to the 30s. In fact, almost all the films are from the late 40s to the mid 60s to 70s. Unforgiven's the only one who falls outside that list at 92. Pretty much everything else is right in there. The early 70s. A couple of films were from the early 70s. Most for the 50s and the 40s. They really kind of went with a certain theme with their list, which would work if they gave us the theme, but they didn't. So I'm going to have to continue to criticize the list. I don't think it was good overall. It was kind of a weak sauce list. Well, alternate personality, do you have any opinions on that? Well, I guess that's a sign we're truly done with the list. So next week, I'm going to give you my top 10 Westerns. I've spent a lot of time bashing the AFI. I might as well tell you what I put up there. So happy trails. I hope you enjoy my list. And watch out for those rough patches. Come to number 1. The Searchers on BigBlackHatMan versus AFI. One take! I finally did that in one take! It only took 10 videos. Quick reminder, BigBlackHatMan Q&A special coming up. So go ahead and submit those questions now.